He might have 5,000 food income this game, though, because we've got 2v2 action with a bunch of names that like to get cozy and play a little bit later into the game. One and all, welcome back to the $3,000 tournament, Empire Duels, a 2v2 Pro Circuit tournament. On the west side, we are going to... Oh, sorry. Let me get... North side, there we go. It's always confusing with the colors like this. We're going to have B on the Delhi teaming up with Team Liquid's Dimu in the purple nature HRE. They're going to be going up against Baltoon on the Ayubids and Sassy on the Mongols. And this is comfort picks, really, actually. B, I imagine, is thinking about something crafty in the late game of Elephants. I know he'd be first to kind of look for it. Meanwhile, Dimu, pretty cozy in the HRE. I think he's been playing this the majority of the time in these kind of team formatted tournaments, if I'm not mistaken. And Southside fits as well. I know Baltoon highly rates the Ayyubids in team games. He loves doing these mass Desert Raider only strategies. And you could imagine there's a bit of filthy animation cancelling going on there, as naturally you would. What's broken about this, though, guys, is that Mongols buff Desert Raiders range. They're cooking. Yeah, so this is quite funny. Mongols always have been kind of a support civ in team games. This is to an insane degree. And here's why. Mongols have Kurotai. Kurotai is incredible at buffing up your team to win fights. But really, what it sends it over the top now is the Khan Hunter unit that just recently got added for the Mongols. The one that gives 0.5 extra tire range, then 0.75, then 1 extra tire range. That works on Desert Raiders. Desert Raiders that have, I believe it's 3.5 tire range. So with that buffed range, you're almost at the range of an archer on a much more beefy and mobile unit. It's a pretty cool idea, and I think that's what they're cooking for. The whole idea also being that playing Ayyubids and Mongols on Prairie, pretty jackpot, right? These are not wood-heavy civs. Not when you play mass Desert Raiders, and definitely not when the Mongols like to play mass Keshiks. Opening-wise, I think we are looking at some outpost shenanigans. Unfortunately for him, Dimu was all too aware. Oh, I love to see this. You know, ever since the HRE got that buff of marching drills in Dark Age, I think that they've been able to answer out the Mongols. This did get slightly nerfed. It's no longer the 10% by default, it's only 5%. But with the sheer raw production speed and also the fact that Prelates just got buffed, you can beat back the Mongols. And what I mean by the Prelates got buffed, they used to only be able to inspire about 7 villages, now it's 9. That means you have a lot more extra economy to push with in the Dark Age. Wait, is it giving... Wait, is Desert Raiders... Are Desert Raiders getting an extra 2 tire range? Am I reading that correctly? Oh, you're right, because the horse cav. That's interesting. I didn't read the specific writing. I just assumed it was only Magadai. So that means that Desert Raiders get 5.5 tire range? Oh, this is going to be so broken. I believe we had Tower of Victory come the other side there, right? Which is really unexpected here out of B. A lot of people have been leaning into Dome of Faith. I thought he'd be going there too. Yeah, actually, I'm confused why he wants Tower of Victory. You're playing a very open map. I guess the logic is you can't really play Ghazi into mass Keshiks and Desert Raiders, so I kind of get that. But this has to be on these spears then, right? Because there isn't enough wood on the map to really justify bulking archers. It's very difficult. And even still, he's opening stables first. So I'm a little bit perplexed by this choice. Oh, and guys, forget what I said about Khan Hunters. Lame. Sassy, what the hell? Bruh. You had the strategy lined up. It was perfect. You only had to do one thing. One thing for the glory. Yeah, no Khan Hunters. I'm sorely disappointed. Sassy has chosen greed. I cannot forgive him for this. Tech up came from the other side. I believe it was the growth ring. Growth wing, right? Yes. 3 extra villages than the other players. Bug abusing? And, whoa. You're using the given tools to get an advantage. That's how I view it. Unless it is specifically written in the rulebook that you cannot do that. I don't know, man. I find it perplexing sometimes. I come from a different world, baby. I remember Dota 2, the Fountain Hook exploit. Game was allowed. Correctly, the players were rewarded for finding a creative solution amongst the bugs. My take is usually, like, if it is that excruciating of a bug, 2 options are there. from a TO perspective, you can clearly list the bug and ban it. Or, from a dev perspective, you can fix your bloody game. So we have got the Desert Race spam coming in though. And we said Baltoon loves this. So what Baltoon will probably try to do is bulk up, start to trend later in the age. And when we eventually get there, if we get to Imperial Age, he'll go military wing reinforcement. He actually really loves this type of build. I can't blame him. He might even consider doing it in like Castle and then maybe saving Imperial to go and get the extra health. Because I do actually think that Visors works really well with the Mass Desert Raider strat. Meantime, the Garcia are proving to be a little bit of a nuisance here. He's going to need some assistance. Looks like Spearmen are on the way from Sassy, but a little bit slow to arrive. You know what would have got them there quicker? A deer stun. In the meantime, though, we have a Burgrave rush. Wow, I didn't... How many sheep does Dimmu have? Am I the only one a little bit worried about how much pump this has? He has got berries, right? Which kind of supplements him a bit. I would have loved to have seen Dimmu shove in the deer if this was the strategy all along, because I feel like, you know, rushing Burgrave, in theory, great. In practice, a little bit awkward here. If you don't have enough food, you can't really get the numbers together. Maybe he's thinking of just spamming mass spearmen, but you can get kited out by these Desert Raiders against that, right? I feel like the plan had to be men-at-arms. I mean, in fairness, the men-at-arms can do reasonably well against the Desert Raiders. The issue is you can kind of get kited, well down, and then, of course, they still have this 5 melee armor at all times. And yeah, well, that's the power of the new early Prelate, by the way, Fatblop. Like, that's why you can play a longer Dark Age, is like you have 2 more villagers being buffed than you used to have, which is almost a 33% increase in your buff rate for the early age. So you don't get hurt as much as you used to by long Dark Ages. That is cool, though. Now I'm starting to believe a little bit. So B is sending over a villager to build this mill to give him an extra 600 food underneath the Arkin. I'm still confused by B's choice to go Tower Victory, though. It hasn't had a reason yet. I mean, maybe the thought process is that he'll just drag this game out anyway, and if he does, he'll go Castle with House of Learning, and then all of a sudden you can get your hands on Men-at-Arms with attack speed increase, which is intriguing, right? Like, it's actually, at that point, I feel like you have 2 of the best civs for building Men-at-Arms, right? You have the Home Blades attack speed Men-at-Arms, and then you have the Heavy Maces 2-handed weapons Men-at-Arms. You're, however, against one of the better or best civs at building crossbows, right? Like, these 2, not the absolute top. They're not arbitrary pumpers, but you could have had Khan Hunters here to worry about. Obviously don't in this game. You also do, however, have Ayyubid crossbows to worry about that do get that buff on them when they kill. One awkward thing is, like, these Desert Raiders, the numbers are kind of getting awkward here. The problem with scaling so many Desert Raiders, you eventually get to a stage where microing them is kind of clowny, and they hang around too long. But luckily, it's only Men-at-Arms right now, and we already highlighted that the damage output isn't extensive. In fact, instead, Baltoon says, screw this. Get your swords out, boys. It's party time. What a wild attack. I did not expect that, but it's kind of intriguing, especially when you consider the fact that, like, the damage is higher than standard Men-at-Arms, right? So it kind of offsets the difference in health when you also have additional melee armor, meaning that Baltoon will absolutely annihilate this Men-at-Arms opening. And now the Keshiks arrive as well. Oh, this is sick. The timing's so important here, right? Because the Desert Raiders are in danger against Mas Ghazi. So the Keshiks are now the buffer against that, but there's no more Men-at-Arms. That's incredible. It's interesting when you think about the raw maths of it, right? Because a Car Slave's Men-at-Arms, 12 damage, 4 armor, right? These guys actually have a 14 damage now, 5 armor. There is 35 health difference between them, and it's going to take you, like, what was it going to take you roughly on strikes? With 5 melee armor, it's going to take you, is it like 15 strikes to kill? So 15 strikes to kill with a 2 damage differential. So that's 30. So one-on-one, a Men-at-Arms should still beat a Desert Raider in melee. Barely, though, by 5 HP. That's insane. Sure, you're paying more for this unit, but you're an age behind. And also, on top of that, you don't have to fight them. You can just fight the villagers. Dimmu gets caught out. And I don't think he has he got wheelbarrow? It doesn't feel like it, but apparently so. Just running up hill's deceptive there. A heavy hit there as Ben's eco reduced down just to 21 left alive in a game where everyone else is about 40. New speed arrow is now going to be used. He's going to be able to strike back against us. Remember, the Desert Raiders, yes, they are countered by the Ghazi. They also strike back very well here. The Keshik's in the mix as well. Should help a little bit, but it looks like the Ghazi count is simply too high. So B able to mop things up on the backside here, but not before Dumu suffers. This is wild. What a cool game. I mean, Battlefield cooks like this all the time, man. This guy loves to play team games. Of course, he's going to find these crafty and unique strategies. I mean, Desert Raiders have been kind of rising in popularity, and I think in the team environment, it definitely makes a lot of sense. Something that can also scale really well as you get into Castle and Imperial. I wonder if we could be looking at eventually here. Battlefield and Sassy are both starting to stockpile up a little bit. The trade count is only at 6 right now, so it's not out of control. That's because they've really just been pumping it to the enemy team. Dumu's in an awkward situation as well. He hasn't had a monastery ahead of time. I think he got it recently. Yeah, so first relic is in. Prelates are moving out. But remember, this is not your Regnitz play. It's not double eco gained. And with how much eco he's already lost, this is the type of game where base case scenario kind of gets you back in contention, if you're lucky. Right now, Dumu's struggling though, guys. This idle TC is painful to watch. It's because he hasn't been manually dropping off with the deer. That's a big no-no. Remember, with the HRE, they have wheelbarrow, but they also have push carts. So watch what's going to happen to Dumu's income as they finally drop off. He's going to have way too much food just sitting there. Realistically, he could have microed a few of these to drop off and had villager production constantly going. And it might seem like a nitpicky detail, but when you're this far behind, every villager counts. Because every villager at this stage is basically 5% of your economy. Tech ups are now on the way. He's doing what we talked about, guys. It's Desert Raider wing in Castle Age, and then he's going to be playing for probably the Advisor wing later, right? He could have tried for logistics. I just don't think it would have been worth it. Like, there's been enough break now that Dumu probably pulled back a lot of the relics. But this makes a lot of sense, and you scale into the Advisors because it makes your Desert Raiders insanely tanky in the hyper late game. So I'm trying to remember what the scaling is for Desert Raiders. I think they got up to like 180 base naturally. Then Biology can get them another, was it 30%? Yeah, 30%. And then you get another 15, right? Or was it 20? 20, right? Yeah, 20. So you go up to like is it 255 or 270? It's pretty high. It's mid to high 200s on a Desert Raider in the ultra late game. I might have done the scaling wrong. I'm trying to remember what... I would never remember what their Castle and Imperial numbers are, because in most games, naturally over the last several months, even when people went Desert Raider wing opening, they never bothered to buy veterancy. This game, they most definitely will be, though. Ghazi. Going to hit back, but the Kesha count is simply too high. You can't fight into the base here. B, he's going to have to think about a tech up. Unfortunately, he never went for Sacred Sites either in this game. It's kind of awkward right now. Two of them just so far away, it doesn't seem feasible either. And the walls are now going up. Meanwhile, Dumu trying to strike back, but Baltsun, I think he's bought enough time here. Just needs to get the troops home. Desert Raiders are now marching back. And we have got Camel Lancers being queued up in a situation where, yeah, there is at least heavy maces. So Dumu has a way of hitting back. This is getting awkward, though. I don't think Dumu's breaking through quick enough. Well, it looks like a little bit of miss micro there. Baltsun, some of the villages were not repairing. We'll pull away now. Desert Raiders, has he at least got that queued up? Yeah, it's on the way. So coming in 10 seconds here with the veterancy. And that's when he should be looking to fight. There's no way Ben does any damage here. He needs to leave right now. Just trying to turn for the fight. Just gets kited out. Good micro here. Baltsun just targeting down those spin first. And now can just easily commit in. Okay, so it's 145 health. So yeah, I think it's... So it's 125, 145, and I guess 165. So still overall, with all the tech upgrades we talked about and the advisors, you get about 245, 250 health on a Desert Raider. Which is pretty ludicrous when you consider this unit can scale up to, I believe it's 14 melee armor. Remember, he's already at 6, only in vet form. He hasn't got any of the blacksmith techs yet. But on top of that, also remember that with the Ayyubids, it's a little bit weird. They do have a camel support aura, but it works in reverse. the camels don't provide armor to the infantry. Infantry provide armor to the camels. They give them +3 in ranged and melee. These units get absurdly tanky. B does know that Delhi going castle is viable these days, right? You wouldn't think it looking at this game, though. This man has done nothing but built Ghazi from the very get-go, and it's starting to make me question the Tower of Victory play even more and more. Maybe it was an elaborate bait. I don't know. This just looks awkward right now. I mean, the upside, at least for Duma and B, is they have a lot of mobility. They're still limited because their opponents are playing mass cav as well. It's what makes this so smart. This is a game all about dynamics. Whoever's slowest loses. Feels like Dimmu is slow to exist here. Barely anything being contributed, just a handful of spears. Desert Raiders at this stage, remember they're hitting for 10 damage each, so they can kind of whittle you down. Easy peasy. The only reason the Dimmu was starting to escape that was because he was charging away with the spears onto the Keshiks, but now when he retreats, he's going to just die. Meanwhile, Keshiks making their stand here. It's a full encirclement. I feel like this shouldn't be too bad for Sassy, though. Right? I mean, he's going to get mopped up, but surely B should end up losing more. I say that. What was he at, 50? Only about 15 lost. Okay, so credit to him. B gets a bloody good trade there. Better than I ever would have expected. It's crazy as well, actually. If Baltoon had peeled just a few Camel Lancers, that debuff should have allowed the Keshiks to survive long enough, but instead, B, by some miracle, is holding back the Mongol horde from Age 2. What worries me, though, is Reboom. B is doing a phenomenal job because he's leveraging what's on the map. What's on the map is gradually drying up here. And when we look on the other side, we've got a tech on the way. We've got trade at the backside. Ayyubids will be kind of concerning when it comes to food sources as well. I think there is going to be a mass farm transition requirement for almost every player in this game. But the one that I think it should hit the hardest is B, just because the quality of his unit is lower, right? He's spending quite a lot of food to build these bad boys. They're not cheap, and they're not good one-on-one. The reason this looks so good is because B is able to maintain numbers. And yeah, it looks like Sassy's already got a bunch of his own types of farms. A lot of the pastures are coming in. Man, this game is intriguing. I really didn't expect Ghazi to do that well against Keshiks. Not when the Keshiks are upgraded, right? Oh, wait. I'm an idiot. He wasn't. Yeah, he's not even age 3. I'm an idiot. Okay, that makes more sense. My brain is in a weird place. Let me wake up and I'll be good. Still though, like Keshiks versus Ghazi, I think I went through this before with like Recon because he had a very interesting game against Beastie where they both just spanned both the units. He's like, I thought Ghazi would do better against Keshiks. And it's like, it's true. I think like Keshiks will win against Ghazi if the numbers are similar. But the problem was in a lot of cases it was 2 Ghazi hitting 1 Keshik. And I agree, Sassy. I thought that there would be 1 or 2 camels there because a 20% debuff is huge. The thing you have to keep in mind about Ghazi compared to Horseman is Ghazi have higher base damage at the trade-off of like a slower attack speed. So that means actually Camel on Knees hits them harder than it hits Horseman. Desert Raiders. Didn't we want to tell me that Keshiks dominate with Horsemen? That's what I'm saying, but they didn't dominate those Horsemen. They got dominated by them. They look like Sassy needed a safe word, for goodness sake. This is so annoying what Baltoon is doing. It's just keeping them on the defensive, and that's the problem because behind this, the trade continues to scale for Sass. So annoying. And remember, Baltoon, like, this isn't necessarily covering a transition. He could just keep doing Desert Raiders, but funnily enough, he actually does have a transition coming. Gulam's now being queued up. Where has he got them coming from, though? Oh, okay, dude, this is some weird base building. Okay, agree or disagree. Prairie feels like a map designed for a walling system like Age of Mythologies. And what I mean by that, same as AoE 2, where you can use buildings. It almost feels like that type of map, right? Where you'd probably... It would feel like a lot more civs are viable on Prairie if these buildings blocked pathing. Not saying we should have that change. I'm just saying, like, from a map design perspective, because I've heard a lot of players, like, you know, some players like Prairie, a lot don't, because it's very much a cavalry-based map. Desert Raiders are getting mopped up, though, so good grab again by B. House of Learning is now on the way. So this is going to be Lancer switch then, right? Into Home Blades. But that's weird against Desert Raiders again. I think the only option here, realistically, for B is Men-at-Arms. But in the meantime, Keshiks are going to dive into the eco. So damage being done there. Sassy is on his way with the Kurotai. But if he's going to learn what most people do when you play cavalry comps, there's no point even moving this thing. Oh, no. Yeah, I swear, Kurotai feels like a bait whenever you're playing with a cavalry teammate. I could probably count on one hand the amount of times in team games I've seen Kurotai look good with cavalry-based strategies. It just doesn't work. It's like, it's too slow. By the time you arrive and unpack, the fight has moved elsewhere. Prairie feels extremely hard to wall. Yep, it's very, very difficult to get that wall down. I mean, you know, like... The problem is, you know, unless you have a very high DPI mouse, like Baltoon does with his, like, CSGO flicks, it's very difficult to just get that wall all the way across. You know, the average, given the average age of an Age of Empires 4 pro gamer, most of them would probably try to place this wall and go, ow, my hip! Pretty expensive, but quite intriguing that he was able to get that off so easily in a team game. I think what worries me most is I'm still not even sure that Dimmu and B realize there's trade going on. I mean, they might suspect it. They haven't seen a Yam aura, right? They don't know how big it is. We're up to 29 traders now for Sassy. Spearmen aren't going to try to dive in. And that's why we have got racks now being dropped in a rush. In the meantime, there's still raids on the backside trying to poke at the economy. Dimmu is at least kind of scraping it back a little, but both of them have struggled, right? Like, 45-62, compare on the other side, 78-83. I think Baltoon especially has done a really good job of just not getting hit too hard. And now we have the free TC boom. Because he understands this game is going to be going much later. It's interesting, Baltoon doesn't often play Ayyubids to end the game fast in team games from what I've seen when I talk to him. He seems to be very comfortable with this idea of playing into the late game because of how well mass Desert Raiders scale. So playing free TC tells you that he knows this is going to take a while, and he's ready to hunker down. Pros refusing to trade in team games is truly the largest gap from optimal playing to pro scene. You can't just trade freely, though. You have to earn it. Like, that's dented. Like, dude, like, you don't just minute one go, let's both build trade. Like, I think you have to earn it first. Especially on a map like Prairie. Like, you know, you couldn't at minute 5 wall, but yes, as the game goes on, I agree. Like, trade is incredibly valuable. It scales insanely well. Like, look at this right here. 105 gold, 10 wood, 10 food each way. Even if it wasn't the Mongols, it's like 90 gold at least, right? Each way. I think one thing that's overdone in team games, even when pros play, is teching. I find a lot of the times, like, being the initial feudal aggressor is much more impactful. Right, and we kind of saw that with the way this game opened up. Both were trying to be the initial aggressor to get an edge. I think the thing I like about team games more than 1v1s is that I feel as if these greedy plays have to be earned instead of given outright. Do you get what I mean? Like, think about how many issues people have had with English 2TC with Abbey of Kings, right? Could you imagine just trying to do, like, English 2TC with Abbey of Kings in a 2v2? What happens there is they both just kill your teammate because you're being greedy and won't come out, right? I like that dynamic about team games quite a lot. But I think that dynamic does also peter off when you go beyond 2v2s. 2v2s are kind of the sweet spot. 3v3s can sometimes work. 4v4s is just hell. Damn it. Look to send all these traders to hell. Looks like he snuck all the way around the back here. The stone wall's not complete. Baltoon was trying to hide on the walls. Has got his own troops responding though. Faye, there are no Khan Hunters. Sassy chose to be a normie. He done what all Mongols do on Prairie. Spearmen are pretty annoying for this, by the way. The marching drills are just so insane to chase down. And also, admittedly, not much in the way of Yam network, right? I think Sassy's got it about halfway. Didn't get it the rest of the way. So, means that he is actually going to slowly lose a few of these traders. A good grab in the end. Baltoon able to sweep that up. Meanwhile, on the west side, we've actually got elephants coming out. Mahoots has been researched. It's mass spears to defend, though. And gotta say, we realized this like years ago. Mongols are pretty damn good at dealing with war elephant strats because of the movement speed, right? The spearmen are usually able to gap close really quick with the Yam. However, in these smaller choke points, not so much. The splash damage adds up. The base spearman on top, very effective. Looks like the first fight, actually a pretty damn good one for B. Second wave is now going to come in, and I think that should be enough to reset him. Yeah, you can see what I was talking about with the Yam as well, right? 1.44 movement speed, even with the buff of Mahoots as a unique House of Learning tech, it's still not good enough. So whenever you play into the Mongol lands with his outposts, you're going to take a bad fight. And the reason is just the spearmen are able to actually grab you. Like right now, when maneuver speed comes off cooldown, Sassy should activate it and run past them. He could grab 4 elephants and kill. Wow, more like 2, and he'd kill the other because they're so low. B, oh my god, the timing on this, what? Keep trying to go up. He's going to have to retreat away from that. The dive continues on through. Men-at-Arms are going to be here to protect, though. Defense arrow does get activated, so it looks like Sassy is just going to try to frustrate the matter. I love the fact that B is saying you're never having this back. Trying to rush the keep up, but Baltoon now arriving. Spearman coming in. Ghazi need to just kind of frontline this, need to block this. It looks like the castle is going to complete. Behind this, Dumu is the first player to make it into Age 4, despite the fact that he's the lowest eco player in the entire game. Never would have expected that, but there's a strike back coming. Sassy is also now ready. The White Stupa on the way. Makes sense, right? Sassy's like, I will never have this landmark back. I'll make myself another one. So who's winning this? I mean, Baltoon and Sassy have a very big lead. I feel like Baltoon could easily be teching soon. I don't think he wants to go advanced wing though, right? I think he wants to be greedy about this. We mentioned how good Advisor's wing is if you can get it. Then again, that was back when it was just going to be Desert Raiders. I feel like it's become a lot more mixed since. B is still hard on the elephant train. However, with elite tech coming in for these Mongol spearmen, I think it's going to be a very big problem. Also, Mangonels, this is kind of sick. If he stacks up to try and delete the wall, this damage adds up fast, guys. Spearmen, I'm going to start stabbing out. Mango shots are coming through. This, I'm not sure if this is the time yet. I feel like B doesn't have enough behind this to assist, right? He's also spreading out to try and hit all the walls at once, but that means you're just not breaking through fast. It gives more value onto the Mangoes. Sassy does have to back up, though. Needs to get more spearmen together. Strategy by B. Surely not. If he was Imperial Age, I could kind of back it, right? But he doesn't have enough scholars to justify a quick tech right now. Baltoon, meanwhile, is about to pull the trigger himself. You can see he's getting ready. Sass should have the Spearman elite status coming through soon. Mangoes continue to wall up here. He's more or less just going full CGQ. He's basically playing discount Chinese right now. Mass Mangoes, mass Spearman, and a big mass now showing up from Baltoon. Makes up the backbone of their army, really double the count that Sassy's able to contribute here. Dive comes in. Villagers are in trouble though. Elephants not quite able to get the splash damage. Sassy at the last second pulls away before the elephants can reveal that they are definitely not herbivores. Oi, oi, oi. Looks like a few of the Mangoes are going to get caught, though, with the dive in here. So starting to lose a little bit of the siege. Upgrades are now coming through, though. So elite tech for the Spearman is now in. Baltoon has now reached Imperial Age. B looks like the liability here. Elephant count looks good for the time being, but now with mass elite Spearman to worry about, I can't see that holding on for long. Another kind of interesting thought here, guys. These are cavalry, so Desert Raiders can actually fight you back in melee if need be. Funnily enough, they're not bothering. They're just committing to the range form here. Hand cannon is also now starting to get queued up because Sassy knows. He's watched enough safaris. Gun beats elephant. It's the natural flow of life, right? Peasants died to elephants. Elephants died to guns. Guns died to disarmament laws. I don't know. I think that's like, I don't know what else beats gun. Nuclear weapon? Don't think we have that yet in AoE4. And there's the Elite Desert Raiders. This is what we were talking about earlier, guys. These things are ridiculous. 19 base. He's got 9 melee armor right now. And remember, he can make that a lot better by getting his hands on a cheeky little tech, which I think he actually did get already, right? I can't remember. I always forget if this is stables or blacksmiths. I think it was in blacksmiths. So there's a tech that gives you +3 range and +3 melee when you're near allied infantry, which means you get 13 melee armor maximum. 13. For reference, an elite men-at-arms with army tactics attacks you for 22 damage from the HRE. You're able to offset 2/3 of that. And remember, as it stands, he's got 175 health. Get the biology, go way above 200. If you really want, you can go for the advisors and get even higher. That could happen down the line, by the way. Baltoon, he didn't go advisors straight away. I believe he actually went for advancement wing so he could afford more units. B, now trying to catch up. Last one to reach up. In the meantime, his elephants are suffering, though. The Yam is there again. Remember, he has got that maneuver speed arrow as well, if need be. I wonder, do they just kind of pivot now into B's base? It might be a bit tricky. Dumu is looking to break through the walls. He's looking to attack. All right, guys. Mass elephant versus mass camel. What wins? I'm pretty sure the answer is elephant, right? 850 HP versus 175. Damage is 40 versus, yeah, 67. And then the toss as well. And these aren't even Imperial yet. However, this is unfair. This is not what we agreed to. You said elephant versus camel. Why are all these spears here? Oh, no. March in here. B just reached Imperial Age, but that means he doesn't have any of the tech upgrades. And that's what they're looking to punish. Spears immediately start pulling out the torches to force a reaction. B now pulling villagers to try and repair. But this is going to be a very hard hold. Dumu is on the way, but arriving late here. By the time he'd get here, the elephants could all be dead. In fact, I think they're going to be Sassy. Brute forcing his way through this. Hand cannoneer assistance is huge here from Baltoon. Admittedly, against elephants, you don't get many of these Mamluk bravery buffs. And it looks like the... What? I beg your pardon, what? Guys, he has elite army tactics. Like, can we talk about this? I mean, they're almost dead, but they're not. All right, I didn't give him enough credit, man. I really thought Spearman would have had that fight. That quantity you'd expect to break through. You know what I'm really enjoying about, like, the... You know what I'm really actually enjoying about these team games? It's like we're getting these situations you don't get to see in 1v1s, and I love the fact that I'm just being proven wrong. It's so freaking refreshing. Do you know how tired I am of like walking into a fight like, yeah, elephants will lose this. He might not be alive, right? He's got like the collective health pool of about 1/4 of this, like 1/3, or half of this, of what the count is. But those elephants did indeed just win the fight. Does the inspired buff work on the elephants? That's a good question. I haven't tested that. I imagine not. I don't know if... Has he got it? No, we can't even check it. Dimu did not get inspired warriors. That would be insane if so. I can't believe that, though. Elephants versus mass spears, and elephants win. So you have to go hand cannoneers now, right? There's no other choice. I mean, we've got them being queued up by both players. They know. It's kind of wild, though, right? Like, you have to consider the splash overlap there was huge. And although the Spearmen have elite army tactics, it's still only 156 health. So for reference, that Tusk attack, I believe the primary is 52 and then half splash around it. Like, you're pretty much taking out half the health of like the first wave of Spearmen with those headbutts. And then you have the Spearmen on top stabbing for another 21. Or 27, sorry, now. As they've gone up to the final form. Jesus. Well, you couldn't kill them when they had 850 HP. However, it looks like they're taking a different idea here. I mean, elephants are slow, right? What's that move speed? Moves allows them to chase this down. Looks like Baltoon's going to have to fight. Hankanis have arrived, though, so it turns into a little bit of an elaborate bait here. As Baltoon able to hit back. Meanwhile, south side, we've got a push in now coming. Sassy looking to break through. B's got a problem here, guys. His army is split. If he takes one situational fight, yes, when he has all the elephants together, it can make sense. But now that he's dividing, I find himself being the one getting conquered here. Keep drop now coming. Dimu in a little bit of desperation here. Hankanis are going to peel to deal with that. They are going to have to run. No way they can get that up. Meanwhile, the second wave of Hankanis able to start shoving back against the elephants here. B looks like he's being spread a little bit too thin. And finally, elephants are countered. We just needed guns. A lot of them, but it's working. Hankanis are getting pushed back on the east side at least. But B, the elephant count feels like it is shriveling up and dying here. Down to 48 total military. Numbers are not looking great for the Russian, as he's the one now getting rushed. Scrambling just to keep a few elephants alive here. Remember, B's military count is deceptive anyway. A quarter of it are scholars. More going to get mopped up here. He's down to just 5 elephants. This has gone from a horde to a petting zoo. And it might be facing extinction soon. Another keep being rushed up. Sassy starting to blitz his way through. Has got the bombards striking out this. Kurultai is now being juiced up. Now remember, with Kurultai, these fights will look one-sided. And that's it. GG gets called. They can't handle anymore. The elephant in the room has been addressed. It remained the case in 2022, and it's still the case now. Gun beats elephant.